Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. An American cat shelter recently had a problem with a resident called Quilty, who had this habit of going around first of all, letting himself out of his cage and then going around letting all the other cats out of their cages. I don't think it's just this particular cat that has a longing for freedom, not only for himself but for others. I think that's a fundamental human need. And I'm reminded of it today because it's the anniversary of the day in 1980 when Erich Fromm died, a social psychologist for whom freedom was one of the fundamental pillars of what it means to be human, the longing for freedom. But alongside that went a loneliness. He interpreted the Adam and Eve story slightly differently from usual and saw it as a means of affirming human freedom. They escaped from the restrictions of the Garden of Eden and made their own decisions. But of course the consequence of that was that they were very lonely, hence the fig leaves and so on, but very vulnerable, because then it was all down to them. They were responsible then for what happened. And so there is this sense of freedom and loneliness leading to the other concept which is important for Fromm, which is community and love. We need to love each other, which is the only way we can get both freedom and deal with our loneliness without our own freedom being impinged upon. Well, it's an interesting concept, but it made me think today about my loving. And reminded me to try and make sure that in my loving of other people, I'm setting them free. I'm not inhibiting them. I'm not having unrealistic expectations of them. I'm not holding them back from anything that would enable them to be truly themselves. My loving of others, I want to be really releasing for them. But I also want it to make sure that it comes from a place of my own freedom. I don't want my loving to be as a result of what other people expect of me or some need that I've got of other people. And Fromm said interestingly that the ability to be alone is a condition of loving. And I think sometimes we need just to take stock of ourselves, to think about our own lives, so that we're sure that when we're acting in love towards other people, we're acting from our individuality, from our own freedom, from our hearts, and not from some expectation, some demand, some need that is beyond us and outside us. And so today, in memory of Fromm, but also in imitation of Quilty, I'm going to try and set other people, the people that I live with, the people that I meet, free from any restraints that hold them back if I possibly can, and allow my loving to do that, and at the same time make sure that my loving of them is coming from a deep love for myself and a respect for my own freedom. A challenge, but one worth pursuing.